Brodes Media.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Make sure you follow me on TikTok at Brodes Media. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and also hit that thumbs up button on this video as well. That would mean the world to me. Follow me on Twitter at Brodes81 is my personal. At Brodes Media is our company account, if you will. And yeah, from there, basically, enjoy the show. Thank you for stopping by. Damn, the Cubs are bad. Okay, the Cubs are bad. The Cubs make the Phillies look like they are the best team in all of baseball. But guess what? I'll take it right now. The bats are alive. They're winning games. It's all ho-hum here in Philadelphia. A 15-10 victory. They take the first two games of this four-game set, and they smashed Jake Arrieta. My man could not even get out of the second inning. And after the game, he's talking about how he watches baseball. He knows baseball. This is just a tough stretch for him. And he still believes that he has the stuff. No, you don't, Jake. No, you don't. You didn't even have the stuff here in Philadelphia. What world would you think you have it even after that? You didn't have it years ago, and yet all of a sudden you think you still have it. When, listen to this, the last 8 starts, 9.67 ERA, where the opposing team had a 336 batting average. Now factor in you went 1 2/3 in this outing, allowed 7 earned runs, 2 walked batters, and 55 pitches, and a grand salami is getting smacked on your ass by Andrew McCutchen early in this game to just blow it up. Now, the defense was abysmal. I was waiting for him to bitch and complain that there were some horrendous plays in the field. But you're talking about basic standard plays. The Cubs, once again, I said this before, the Cubs tried to Philly. That's what they did. The Cubs Phillied themselves. Random balls getting hit right to them. They don't know how to properly just field a ground ball out into the outfield. It ends up hitting off legs, going towards center field, having to pick the ball up. The Phillies are running the bases. The Cubs had 3 errors, so they were just embarrassing defensively, which did not help. But Jake Arrieta absolutely sucked. That's just pretty damn clear and an obvious statement. The Phillies had a 7-0 lead, and they just exploded early. The problem, though, was Nola in that third got a little iffy, got a little shaky, and it got me nervous. Now, ultimately, he got through 6 innings, which is very important for him. I do have some numbers for you. It's the second time in the last 7 starts that Nola was able to go through 6 innings, and that was since June 1st. So important for him to hit that number. He had a decent amount of strikeouts in there. He finished with 8 strikeouts, and at one point, striking out the side, getting 5 Ks in a row, and that was very important. But that third inning, things definitely got shaky. Javier Baez doing his thing. He ended up getting 2 homers today. He crushed one off of Falter later in the game, and he got shelled. I mean, that was one of the worst outings we've seen out of him to this point. And, you figured at some point he was going to end up getting hit and getting crushed and getting annihilated. He wasn't going to be this perfect piece forever, and that sure showed in this game, specifically very late when he was in there. Of course, that's the only time it would be. He wasn't at any other time, so I don't know why I stated it the way that I just did, but I digress. Yeah, Nola, his stat line was 6 innings pitched, 100 pitches, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, only 1 walk, which is very important. I just wonder, though, because his strikeout numbers have been through the roof as of the last couple of starts. You're talking double digits, and you're talking just electric strikeout numbers. Is there too much of an emphasis on that where his pitch count is rising? Because when you pitch for contact at times, there's a ground ball. After 1 pitch, there's a ground ball after 2 pitches, and that keeps your pitch count low. When you're really focusing and dialing in on getting swings and misses and striking out guys, and that is what you're insanely trying to do, over and over and over again, your pitch count is going to rise, where we're not getting a deep Aaron Nola. We're not getting, other than one start in the month of June that went 7 2/3, you're getting 5 innings, and less than that at times. So that was his June game log. That needs to be stronger, and there's been a lot of strikeouts. So I just wonder, it's something I'm just throwing out there as I'm speaking out loud. Is there too much of this I need to strike out a lot of guys mentality, which is maybe hurting his pitch count and forcing him to stay or not to stay out there, to get yanked earlier in the game? I'll tell you what, though. The Phillies, offensively, Bryce Harper with 5 hits. At one point in this game, though, he had 3 hits with runners in scoring position, and I went back and forth with an absolute doofus in one of the comments sections of one of the past videos about how Bryce Harper, this individual thought Bryce Harper is such a failure because he's so brutal with his solo home runs, and it's all his fault that he's hitting solo home runs and not getting hits with runners in scoring position, while I laid out that at that time he was hitting .282 with men on base. And the counter to that by this individual, who is a clown, was, well, you said nobody's ever on base, so how is he hitting .282? Well, obviously, people are getting on base sometimes in 80 games to this point. There are players on base. It's just not as high as it should be when you have a struggling Andrew McCutchen, a struggling Odubel Herrera in the leadoff spot. It's not ironic that things change when Gene Segura's leading off, and he's giving you 4 for 6. And by the way, he had 4 runs scored, also knocked in a couple runs. But, so you're telling me he had 4 hits and scored 4 runs? So he was on base in front of the top guys, and then they got knocked in because the leadoff guy got on base? I mean, it's not really that hard to see. Now, that doesn't mean that there's never, ever, ever, ever scenarios for Bryce Harper with runners in scoring position. Obviously, there was prior to this game, but there have been other issues with this team. Anyway, getting back to the craziness, the fact that he had 3 hits with runners in scoring position in this game at one point and only had 1 RBI. Now, he got boned because the ball ended up getting stuck in the ivy out in right field, which forced a runner to stay at third when that would have definitely been another RBI. He finished with 4 RBI, should have been 5. 5 of 6 he was from the plate, and he actually hit a home run that was not a solo shot, and he was just unreal in this game. And maybe this sparks the Bryce Harper that we wanted. We never really truly had that Bryce Harper run yet this season, where he goes on this crazy ride of maybe something that's so crazy, I don't know, 500, hitting 500 for 5 games, like a 5-game stretch of hitting 500 with 4 home runs and 7, 8, 9 RBI. Something just absolutely absurd that makes no sense and makes your brain explode, where the MLB has the headlines on MLB.com and their MLB Twitter feed is just pumping out Bryce Harper content. Sort of like Kyle Schwarber, right? Now, I don't anticipate Bryce Harper redoing what just went down with the Nationals and Kyle Schwarber, because he went on one of the craziest months I've ever seen in my life hitting home run balls, but something where you need to see what he's doing. What's going on with Kyle Schwarber was just so unbelievable. It was melting my mind. Bryce Harper, similar to that. Is this what we're getting? Now, he made some comments after the game about the All-Star game, and I was somewhat thinking about this. It's crazy. Now, I could be losing my mind, and I tend to do that at times, so bear with me here. But I could have sworn I saw him speaking to Anthony Rizzo on first base when he was on base, and he was talking about how I could read his lips when they had a close-up to his face, and he basically said, I don't care about the All-Star game, I want to spend time with my family, and those two were somewhat mouthing back and forth something. You couldn't hear what they were saying, and then after the game today, you heard him talk about just that. So I swear to God, I saw that conversation happen out on the field. I could be totally wrong, but I swear to you, I said it to myself while watching the game. I think it's so damn crazy that was brought up after the game, where he wouldn't have even done it. And some of these players, if they're not getting the nod while the fans might be all outraged. Oh, he deserves it. I had a text message on last episode, and they were claiming that Bryce Harper should have been involved. Now, I don't know if that was a text message. That might have been a phone call on the Anytime Hotline, but it was brought up that he got robbed. You know what? Some of these players, they don't even want to go through that experience. They'd rather kick it, hang with their family, hang with their newborns, hang with their children, hang with the people that they love that they don't get a chance to hang out with as much during the season because they're constantly on the road. Now, it's part of the business, right? When you're a big name player, when you're a great player, but he didn't even get the nod anyway, so it's not as if it truly matters. But I just thought it was an interesting perspective by him to kind of throw that out there while it's kind of a discussion on did he get robbed and where are his numbers right now. One of the things that was also brought up for Bryce Harper was he raised his average with runners in scoring position from 227 to 292 in today's outing. So keep in mind, that just tells you the lack of amount of times that it's been available for him. If the hits that he had pounced his numbers up that much. It's not like he had 60 hits today that moved his numbers so extreme. Right, he went 5 for 6 total. So when you think about the amount of hits he had with runners in scoring position, for his batting average to jump that much just tells you the lack of amount of attempts that he truly had. But he was ridiculous. Hoskins crushed one off the scoreboard for his 20th of the season. He had the bases loaded in the 9th. I thought maybe, just maybe, he hit a grand slam just to explode, but he didn't. He ended up flying out to the outfield. He had 3 RBIs, so he was knocking in runs. If you think about Bryce Harper, Rhys Hoskins, and Andrew McCutchen, they definitely did damage with knocking in runs, and that's a powerful part of your order, and it was just ridiculous. You know, this Cubs team, though, now they lose their 11th straight, and they just look deflated. Deflated. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I'm a little bit delusional. It's super late. It's past 1 a.m. I just recorded an NBA Finals podcast after Game 1, and now I'm diving into this, so it's a little bit of a double whammy for me, and I got a lot going on. I just 2 minutes ago was trying to talk at the same time as uploading the NBA Finals podcast, so I'm doing a little bit of multitasking. I'm doing my best to keep my brain inside here and working the right way. You know what was interesting, though? On a night where everyone seemed to be getting hits and thriving to the best of their ability, Alec Bohm went 0 for 5. Didi Gregorius went 0 for 5. I would have loved to seen Didi Gregorius maybe keep that alive, you know, that hotness that he has had since returning to the lineup. He's hit a couple long balls, and I was just hoping maybe we could get some strong Didi Gregorius play for, you know, a nice window. Now, one bad game isn't going to write him off if he returns tomorrow and takes it for a ride and drives one out to right field. You know it's going to be right field. It's definitely not going to be center or left field. He has no idea how to do that. So when he pulls it to right field in the next game, if he does, you know, then this is somewhat of a wash, and today doesn't matter. But yeah, Alec Bohm offensively. No, I'm very hard on Alec Bohm, and I'm very hard on a lot of these players because a lot of this to me is really who they're playing, even though I'm proud of the Phillies for smashing them because I've seen them not smash bad teams before, and they took advantage of a Jake Arrieta that was clearly not his best version of himself and hasn't been for a long time, and you need to do that, but this isn't selling me. You know, I had a tweet, right, and I got some responses to it, and I guess I'll kind of bring those up now as I bring up the conversation, because what I tweeted was, the Cubs are so bad they're making the Phillies look like the best team in baseball. And I got this response. Or just maybe the Phillies lineup is finally mostly healthy and are hot at the same time. Probably not, but a man can dream. This is fun. I can't be all sucked in when I'm watching a team that they're playing go on an 11-game losing streak and have no clue how to play baseball right now, right? I mean, I just can't. Is this something that can maybe help turn things around for the Phillies? I guess maybe. I mean, at the All-Star break, the thing is, they're a certain amount of games back because the division is bad. They're still under 500. I can't go way too far and way too extreme, which brings up another point. So I tweeted something out on my Brodes media account, and it was brought up that let's see here. It was after the Rhys Hoskins homer. So let me find the tweet for the Rhys Hoskins one. Okay, here it is. I keep telling you, Brodes, the defense has been good with Didi and Segura up the middle. He's referencing Rhys Hoskins' defense. This guy has been carrying us. Let me stop there. In what universe is being a few games under 500 before this Cubs series carrying you? You're what? Before this Cubs series, they were 39 and 42 in that range, and somehow, someway, Rhys Hoskins was carrying us to that, where he had an 0 for 30 stretch, where he had another pathetic stretch after that, where he costed the Phillies multiple games for his horrendous defense and not catching a baseball at first base. Even though Jose Alvarado's throw was a little high, he lost it in the sun with his sunglasses being over his head on his hat. And also, in another outing just after that, he could not knock down a ball when Hector Neris was on the bump, which kept the inning alive. And then eventually the Phillies did not handle business. So there's a lot of ugly involved with Rhys Hoskins. Since when has Rhys Hoskins carried the Phillies just because he has 20 home runs? We know that his offense, when hot, is magnificent. We also know, though, that after his hot streak ends, he goes 0 for 30 plus. He'll go 0 for 20 plus, and he's not a good defender at all. So I don't know how you watch this team to this point and analyze where they are, and your instant reaction is Rhys Hoskins has carried this baseball team. I mean, I question your baseball knowledge if that's truly what you believe. Now, after that, he says, all season he's been giving us good things. Move Bohm to first, cracking up emojis. Yeah, right. Now, one of the reasons why I talk about moving Alec Bohm to first base, if you have a brain, is because Rhys Hoskins has value, because he can hit home runs. So there is something to his game, which would bring you back something in return, where this franchise has nothing, which is in the prospect pool. Also keep in mind, if you did a bit of research and you knew about this, that Scott Boras is with Rhys Hoskins. Now, arbitration, still a couple of years of arbitration before he hits that UFA situation. But with Scott Boras and the luxury tax, now money's going to be coming off the books with Andrew McCutchen and other players, and there's definitely an element of that. But I wonder, is John Middleton going to be willing to spend the big bucks on a Rhys Hoskins when he's going to be spending big bucks in other areas over the next couple of years as well with Scott Boras? So keep in mind the Scott Boras effect, which is a couple years in the making here, and something that also matters as well. Just saying. So there's a lot of elements here, and I guess I'm a bit baffled with what I heard in the comments section today and at the tweets on Twitter during today as well. I feel some of the Phillies fans are just getting a little too extreme with the last handful of games. We've seen way too ugly a baseball for me to think everything's changed just because Didi Gregorius has come back. Sure, Alec Bohm made a nice catch at third base. He's still a problem offensively, and he's still a problem defensively. I'm just not ready to get sucked in again, that's all. I'm not ready. I am and I'm not. I am because I want this team to be conversational, and I want the games to matter to the point where I can react to them on a night-by-night basis, because there's not much going on here in the sports world. Truly, in Philadelphia, there's the NBA Finals, but not here, so I need it to matter, and it's like a fake sucked in, like, yeah, this is great, but it's not because they stink. It's not because they stink. But the All-Star break can do wonders, you know. After this, they play the Red Sox, and then they have a break with the All-Star break, and maybe the second half. We've seen them collapse in second halves. Is this the season where it's the complete opposite? I don't know. If I'm a betting man, I'm not putting a lot of money down on that specific bet. But speaking of a betting man, DraftKings Sportsbook is not only my favorite sportsbook, but also America's top-rated sportsbook. I love using DraftKings Sportsbook. It's easy to navigate, has plenty of instructions for new bettors, and nearly limitless ways to get in on all of the action. My friends and family have been loving DraftKings Sportsbook, and I know you will too. Listen to this great offer. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use promo code Brodes when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free credits. Bet on the basketball team of your choice to win their next game, and if they do, you will claim $100 in free credits. That's promo code BRODES for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Wager paid out in-site credits. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. So if they end up winning tomorrow, they win their series. Zack Wheeler is on the bump, so that's definitely an advantage for the Phils, 1,000%. This guy has just been must-watch television. For as disgusted as I am every time Matt Moore takes the bump because he's one of the most non-entertaining pitchers I've ever seen in my entire life, and that's including a lot of terrible pitchers. I'd rather watch Nick Pivetta in a Phillies uniform. I'd rather watch some of the worst pitchers we've ever seen in a Phillies uniform over Matt Moore. For as much as I can't stand that and stand witnessing that for 4 hours, I absolutely foam out the mouth watching Zack Wheeler pitch and utilize his repertoire. It's just absolutely incredible. Now, the other day I talked about how I had no issue with Zack Wheeler getting yanked in the 8th inning by Joe Girardi at 114 pitches. Now, speaking of Twitter, I went through a back and forth with another individual because it was back in the day, we had pitchers throw 130, 140 pitches and they lasted forever. So stop with this nonsense of you don't want to run Zack Wheeler into the ground. And my counter to that is, yeah, but it's different now because these pitchers are throwing 98, 99, 100 miles per hour every pitch, and they also have 5 grips and 5 pitches they throw as well, where that's way more damage done on the body and on the arm than anything back in 1962, where they basically had just 2 pitches or they had a couple pitches and they weren't throwing with the velocity and they didn't have the same type of training and the same type of power and the same type of intensity with every single damn pitch. The stress on the body now is so different, and that's what makes it even more insane that Zack Wheeler's, doing what he's doing right now and cruising the way that he's doing. He's just in a rhythm, he's in a groove, and it's been sensational to watch, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do to these to these hitters and to these batters, even though the Chicago Cubs have struggled so much. I think he's just going to do it again. How is he going to handle Javier Baez, who's been able to put on a clinic and hit a lot of bombs and a lot of home runs in this series so far? Is he going to challenge him, and is he going to strike him out? Is he going to fool him with the slider? Is he going to make him ground out with the sinker? Will he utilize that cutter? Is there going to be a great 12-6 curveball that gets Javier Baez swinging in the dirt? I'm super excited to see how that specific matchup plays out, and I want to see if this team can take the series, take the series tomorrow, and if they do, then a chance to sweep 4, no matter how bad a struggling team is, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here because they do have to win tomorrow's game first, but no matter how bad a baseball team is, in a 4-game series, if you ever have an opportunity to take all 4, that's not easy at all. It's a difficult thing to do, especially on the road, and this Phillies team struggles big time on the road. We all know that. They play a lot different. They play a different brand of baseball outside of South Philadelphia in a different ballpark than Citizens Bank Park, so it would be big. But like I said, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I just look up the pitching matchups, though, before the series played out, and we knew they had an advantage basically all throughout. So, that is a big part of these storylines, and I'm excited to see where they go from here, but I'm not getting too heavily sucked in at the same time. I think you need to take it for what it is and balance this and utilize the context involved here on what's happening. So the Phillies are going on a nice little spurt here right before the All-Star break. It's good. It's good that they're hanging around. They give you that false hope, that false optimism. I just know this franchise and have been watching this franchise and organization be ran for so damn long, and the bullpen's still going to be an issue. You have people saying I'm sold on Ranger Suarez, and I feel comfortable with him closing. What? In what universe do you feel insanely comfortable with Ranger Suarez being your piece that's going to shut down late inning games in huge moments consistently just because he did a couple times, just because he's been out there a time or two? Has it even been 2, or has it only been 1? Has it been 1 where he came in and shut it down perfectly? he's had a nice season to this point. By all means, he's had a nice season. But once again, are we going too far ahead of ourselves now that, I mean, just before today's outing, Falter's the next great one. Falter's the next best closer in the history of baseball, and now Falter has a bit of a hiccup. At some point, I would imagine Ranger Suarez, just like Andrew McCutchen, right? Because I remember Andrew McCutchen was hitting 156 earlier this season, and the amount of people that said to me, Brodes, you have way too much optimism for Andrew McCutchen. He is clearly washed and doomed. And I said, he's too much of a veteran. He's been around the block too long. He's been involved in this game for way too long to just be this. 156, there's no way. Now his power numbers are just thriving. And I saw a stat. Let me check if it was Bob Wankel. For some reason, I feel like it was Bob Wankel of Crossing Broad. So let me see if he has the numbers here of... No, it's not this one, but this is also fascinating. Here's a look at some of the numbers of Franco and Alec Bohm over their first 125 career games. Michael Franco is hitting 258, 313, 451. That was his numbers he was slashing. With 20 homers and 72 RBI, Bohm is slashing 274, 330, 387 with 9 homers and 60 RBI. So whether that tells you something at all, well, maybe, but, it's just interesting to look at. He follows that up by saying very different players. Bohm's approach plays far better over long haul. I do agree with that. He needs to make adjustments, figure it out at the plate, but I don't think he sticks at third base. I would agree with Bob Wankel there. But what I wanted to get to was, what was I trying to get to before that? Was it about Alec Bohm? Or was it about, I totally lost my train of thought. I almost want to pause this, go back and listen so I can figure out what it is. That's what I'm going to do. Hold on a second. All right. It was about Andrew McCutchen, and basically I can't find the specific tweet, but what it was discussing was how his numbers in 2014 when he was the Andrew McCutchen that was absolutely disgusting and nasty. He was hitting 314 and he was really cruising. The numbers as of late with Andrew McCutchen has been very similar. The recent stretch of Andrew McCutchen somewhat does relate to what he gave the Pirates back in 2014, which is just absolutely fascinating, but I can't find the exact numbers I'm looking for, but unfortunately, I can't find it. But with that being said, I want to thank everybody so much for listening to this episode of Sports Talk with Brodes, and I will see you next time.